Hey, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. Thanks for tuning in to The Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM. If you're interested in sponsoring my show, you can send me an email to themikewagnershow@gmail.com, or you could also donate to the podcast. Just go to the Donate Listen site, and you can also donate whatever you like. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. For those who are interested, Anchor can give you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. We've got creation tools, allows you to record and edit podcasts so it sounds great, and they'll distribute the podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere. Spotify, Apple, Google, many more. And you can make money from the podcast with no minimum listenership. So download the Anchor app for free or go to Anchor FM to get started.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention The Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and Apple. Also, Mike Wagner Shows is going to be on Stitcher as well, too, along with Shoutbox, Overcast, and more. Also coming to Podcast Addict, Deezer, and more. Also, take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. We're here with a wonderful singer and guitarist from Macon, Georgia. He has a very unique beginning, and he also has a very interesting history on how he got to where he's at today. A lot of musical influences. He's a music ambassador for his hometown in Macon, Georgia, influenced by many, many guitarists. He can tell you about it, and we'll also play some singles as well, too. And not only is a singer, songwriter, and guitarist, he is also his own producer, also a teacher and professor, and also features a special day we'll talk about. And live, ladies and gentlemen, from beautiful Macon, Georgia, this guy is ready to rock. Here we are, Joey Stuckey. Joey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Joey's your singer, songwriter, guitarist out of Macon, Georgia, and you've been doing this since you've been doing it for a while, and you also have been a very unique beginning. If you want to tell us about that and how you got this very unique vision that you have in terms of playing and everything else. You've got some singles out called Blind Man Driving, Six String Soldier, Trouble Comes in Threes, and you're also a teacher and professor as well, too. And before we get into all that, tell us how I got started.
Yeah, it's interesting. People talk to me a lot. I do a lot of master classes and travel all over the world and talk about music business, music technology, some other things like the art of improvisation. And I also do a lot of inspirational talks as well because I'm a blind brain tumor survivor. So when I was really young, probably a little over a year old, my mom thought that something wasn't quite right with me, that I didn't seem to be tracking her as well. I didn't seem to be navigating my surroundings as well as she felt like I should. So she took me to the doctor and like, he's fine, go home, bake cookies. You're just overprotective mother. But parents know their kids and what should be going on. So my dad had me by the hand and let go of me for 2 or 3 seconds, and I just literally took a step forward and fell down like a flight of 30 stairs.
Ooh.
And it was my parents were horrified, and so they took me to the hospital. Of course, they ran me to the ER, and they're like, "Oh man, I think this kid's blind."
Oh my!
And so what happened was, and it's to be fair, it's nobody's fault. I mean, my only point in in saying about the earlier part is that, parents know their children. If you've got a loved one that you know and that you spend a lot of time with, you should always trust your instincts about health challenges and stuff. And so my parents, stuck to their guns and no, there's nothing wrong with my child. And so they determined that I had a brain tumor, and the kind of tumor I had is pretty rare. It's what was happening essentially was that it was growing so fast that it was basically destroying wiring from the inside out. So it was sort of an explosion, if you will. The tumor was moving so fast, so it severed all my optic nerves, which is why the outside of my eyes are fine. They just don't connect to anything. And then that also took my sense of smell. But Mike, I believe in using what you got. So I tricked my wife into marriage by telling her that no matter what happened, she'd always look and smell perfect to me.
That's a good way to put it. It's like, for you married people out there, you smell perfect no matter what.
Use what you got. Use what you got. So, in fact, that's one of my talks is actually, I did a lot of endorsement deals with music companies, and one of my talks is how to leverage what you've got to get what you need. So I just use whatever you got. So my wife said that sounds like a pretty good deal. So we've been married 16 years now. So, but the thing was, it also took a lot of it damaged my endocrine system. So I have no thyroid, I have no adrenal glands. So I'm not a sick person, but I am someone that their body doesn't do a lot of things that it's supposed to do. So I have to very carefully protect my time, my energy, and I have to watch it. And I take a lot of replacement medicines that try to simulate the glandular functions that I don't have. Mm-hmm. Spent a lot of time as a child. I spent an enormous amount of time in the hospital. The doctors told my parents, look, we've got to do surgery on your son, but if we, the fact is, if we don't do the surgery, we know he's going to die. If we do the surgery, he's still probably going to die. And if he does make it, he won't walk or talk. So we beat all those odds. And so now, 30-something years later, I am still doing what I do. And the reason I mention it is because life has not always been easy, but I have always been able to make it work. And I've always been able to, by and large, do what it was that I wanted to do. And music is really not a career for me. It is more of a compulsion. It's more of a it's more of a necessity, really. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. It's an obsession. I think it's a healthy one, but it's something that I have to do. If I could choose to do something, because the music business is really. It's a really strange business. It really doesn't have much of a middle class. You're either broken at the bottom or rich and at the top, and there's such a high rate of delusion of people with unrealistic goals and people that they want the fun part of music, but they don't want to put in the work. And people are like, I have people say to me all the time, this guy, I'm really a big fan. They were an overnight sensation. I said, no. There's no such thing as overnight sensation. You didn't know about them, but that's an overnight sensation that's been 20 years in the making. So it's like, music's just a very tough business. And with the way our technology is changing all the time, it's a very good thing because there are fewer gatekeepers, but there's also a lot harder to get noticed as an independent musician. So it's something you have to really spend a lot of time on. You have to seriously be dedicated to it. And I tell my students, look, if not making music hurts you so much, like you're just miserable without it, then welcome to the field, and we're glad to have you. If you don't feel that way, this may not be the career for you, because you're going to need that true passion for it to insulate you from the sheer amount of crazy that comes with being in the music business. So, and I don't mean that. I mean that as a hopeful way. I mean, I'm just saying to my students, like, look, guys, you can have anything you want. If you come to me and say, I want to sell out 80,000 seat arenas, I say dream big. I'm okay with that. What's not going to work out for you is to say, I've written my first song today and tomorrow I'm a star. there's a lot that goes in between those two things happening. So, but anyway, I love music so much, and it called me. I mean, it is a calling, and it is something, like I said, that I do because I feel like I have to. And I'll tell you something, music is a very powerful, it's the most powerful force that I know for positive change. And the thing about musicians or art, any artist really, but music, of course, being the thing that's, paintings don't really do that much for me. And they don't like it when you grope Mona Lisa, you know what I mean? So you go to the Louvre, the blind guy comes and starts to touch Mona Lisa. That's just going to get you on some sort of list. But anyway, but I just really believe that, the power of music to change hearts and minds and to inspire and to comfort, and any art really, we act as historians. Artists act as historians, reminding us of successes and failures. We act as new pathways to new understandings. We're able to bring new ideas and new concepts into people's lives and hopefully make that for the better. If you look at the kind of music that came out during the civil rights movement, during the Vietnam War protests, a lot of very powerful music that was able to change the mind of nations. Happened during those times, and I think it's always been like that. If you look at music from World War II, especially with, for example, our British cousins across the pond, there was a lot of very powerful music there that helped those people stay positive and focus on joy and not the terror of, hey, I hope we don't get bombed tonight. Music is, in my heart and mind, like the closest thing that we mortals will ever know to sort of the language of the angels. I mean, it's an amazing thing. So I didn't really start taking my early years. Honestly, were focused primarily on survival. After the brain tumor surgery, I spent about 4 months in the hospital, just my early years were just really focused on survival. But one summer I got sick with pneumonia, had to stay home the whole summer. And just stay in the house, and I was just miserable. And they gave me some medicine that cleared up pneumonia, but unfortunately had the side effect of me starting to throw up blood, which is not the way one wants to spend a couple months, really. But I discovered old time radio. Now, here in the United States, people have kind of forgotten about the old time radio shows, which is basically like TV. There's just no picture. It's right. Everything's told through sound effects, dialogue, and music. But in like Canada, UK, places like that, radio shows are still like the real things, and I adore them. But as I heard those as a 13-year-old child, like the old Lone Ranger shows and The Shadow and all this stuff, I was so inspired by that. That I was like, man, I can do this. I can do that. I can be a sound man. I can record. I can make sound effects for film and TV. And so I started buying some really cheap equipment and just started basically, what happens if I plug it in? What happens if I plug this in? What happens if I do that? It's a scientific method, right? I just started plugging stuff in. And then by the time I was 15, I actually had a paying job as the sound technician for the local planetarium.
Nice.
And what happened from there was all the other kids that either volunteered or worked there that were 18, 20, 21 years old said, hey, man, we got a band. Can you record our band? Yeah, I'll record your band. And that's basically how I became a producer and a sound engineer. And by the time I was 19, I had, a full professional studio in a building downtown and out of my attic and all that kind of stuff. And then when I heard that very first garage band come in and play an original song, and admittedly, looking back, that the original song wasn't that great, but at the time to a 15, 16-year-old kid, this group had written their own piece of music. The other sort of light bulb went off in my head, and I'm like, okay, I can do that too, and I have something to say, and music's the way I'm going to say that. Music is the vehicle with which I'm going to tell my story. And so that is how it all started. I went from there. I don't do things by half. I either do it or don't. And so I, started taking classical guitar lessons when I was about 17, and then I went to school for music and did that. And now I have to say I'm really honored that I'm a professor of music technology at that same school where I went, all those years ago. I'm teaching there now, which is a great joy for me. So anyway, but that's kind of how, I got started with music, and then I've done so. I kind of had the mentality of I'm not going to complain about something. I'm going to I'm going to do something about it. I don't believe in just like, bitching and moaning about something and then not doing anything about it. So I may bitch and moan, but I'm also going to do something about it. So I have done a lot of different things here in my hometown. Everything from TV shows and whatever else that I thought needed to be done for the music community. And so in 2006 they honored me with this title of the official music ambassador for Macon. So one of the things I do, and it's a largely honorary role, but it's something. Whenever I travel, I talk about Macon, Georgia, and the music that has come from this little small town in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we're the home of Otis Redding, the Allman Brothers, Little Richard, Wet Willie, all these wonderful. Cindy Lanier, who's a classical composer and poet. More recently, you may remember the country star Jason Aldean's from Macon, Georgia. So, we have a lot of amazing talent in this area. And, back in the late 60s, early 70s, Macon was a real mecca for Southern rock and that sort of thing. And that genre has dried up to a certain degree. But anyway, we talk about it, and Macon is also the birthplace of the novelty instrument, the kazoo.
Wow!
Yes, I'm telling you, it's exactly. So I'll send you one, and you can annoy your friends and neighbors. But I have the official Joey. Yeah, I have the official Joey Stuckey kazoo, and I take them all around. And Gene Simmons from Kiss has one of my kazoos. I got a great picture of him on my website playing the kazoo. Playing it the wrong way around, but that's okay. He's Gene Simmons.
We'll have to have a kazoo band one day. I think when we have you on as well too, we're gonna do like a kazoo concert or something. We'll have to come up with some songs. Yeah.
Do not threaten me with a good time.
it sounds like you're having a good time. Oh, yeah.
Always.
Oh yeah, and of course you had a lot of just influence as well too. I mean, Jeff Beck, Wes Montgomery, Mel Torme, Greg Allman, and who else is considered biggest influence when it comes to like your favorite artists, singers, and everything else? And I love old time radio. Talk more about that.
Well, I'm so inspired by everyone. There's so many amazing art. I'm a Taylor Swift fan. Mm-hmm. My bandmates mock me mercilessly about that. I don't care. She's amazing. I love Dolly Parton. To switch all the way around. You're going to switch it around again. I love Pavarotti. But influences as far as me, I hate putting music into a box. Now, that being said, it's a necessary evil because one of the things you have to understand is who is it that's going to like my music and how do I reach those people? And in marketing terms, we call that targeting your audience. Mm-hmm. So when you want to target, and this is for any business really, but when you got to figure out where it is your people hang out. And how to reach them and get them to basically support you to be patrons of your craft. And so you have to kind of put your music in some kind of box, but I love everything from country to heavy metal. I just love good music. It doesn't matter to me what it really is, but influence-wise, I love like on the guitar. We'll go a little further afield. Like I love like Adrian Belew, who played with Frank Zappa and King Crimson. Mm-hmm. I love Trevor Rabin, from the band Yes.
Oh yes.
Some great. They also have some of my kazoos as well. They actually, I gave those guys. It was Rabin, Rick Waitman, and John Anderson, and I gave them the kazoos. And when I got to meet them, and they took them and played roundabout in 3-part harmony on these kazoos.
Oh my goodness! I wish I had a recording of this or YouTube.
Dude, I asked my wife. I said, "Did you get a picture of that?" She's like, "No, They said I had to put my phone away. I'm like, I was like, honey, I could have died happy. You could have literally bumped me off right then, and it would have been okay. It was so cool. But you listen to people like John Mayer, of course. John Mayer's an incredible guitar player. Eric Clapton. There's so many amazing. The thing is, I don't care if you've been playing for a year or you've been playing for 40 years. There's something I can learn from just about anybody. So I always keep an open mind and I always listen. And that honestly, unfortunately, with the kind of schedule I have, I don't really get a chance to practice like I'd like to. So I practice mentally. So if I'm listening to the radio, I'll sit because I'm not allowed to drive. So I'll sit there and I'll dissect what's going on in my mind and break it apart theoretically. And it's almost as good as, having the guitar in your hand. But I mean, it's the jazz world. I mean, I'm a huge John Coltrane fan, Miles Davis, John McLaughlin, Pat Martino, Pat Metheny, all these incredibly talented people. And then, I got the chance to perform at the Georgia Music Hall of Fame Awards one year when they inducted little Jimmy Dempsey into the Rock and Roll Hall of into the Georgia Music Hall of Fame. Now, he is someone you may not know, but he was a famous session player, and every major country album between the 70s and the 90s, probably he was playing guitar on it.
Wow.
And so I got a chance I was his proxy. His son asked me to play to represent his dad when they inducted him to the Hall of Fame. And I got to play some of his great, like you may like. There's a song called "Help Me Make It Through the Night," which is an old classic country tune. And he's on that. Just all kinds of different songs. And you remember that? I don't know if you remember that old hit. I Never Promised You a Rose Garden. It was, I think it was Lynn Anderson was the name of the artist who sang it.
Yeah, it was.
He played guitar on that. So I got a chance to do that and just discover some of his catalog. Chet Atkins is amazing, of course. Willie Nelson's pretty amazing. I mean,
oh yeah, I love Willie.
Yeah, how can you not? And so I love all that stuff. And then like right now, from a modern standpoint, this isn't really more guitar. This is actually more of a production thing. But from a producer standpoint, I am just really loving songs by people like Shawn Mendes, Shawn Mendes, the song he's got, Señorita, which is a great track. And that's from a production standpoint. I get inspired by that. So the EQ and the vocals is amazing. It's just, this sounds so great. And wow, the way they've got that bass balanced out, it's just fantastic. And what's really fun is I've made my wife, and she knew, we were both kids in the 80s. So she knows every 80s song ever. And now I've ruined a few of those for her because it just makes me laugh and smile because she'll hear a song and she'll go, "Oh God, the snare drum is just too loud in that song." I'm like, "Yes, it is." Because that's what I spend most of my day doing, is making records for other people. So that's my real job as a producer for other artists. Is I come in. That's mainly what I do. But I just love music. And as far as the old time radio stuff goes, oh my gosh. The BBC and the CBC have some of the best stuff out there in the universe, I'm a big fan of Big Finish Productions, which is this is going to let my inner nerd flag fly here, but they are, in my mind, the people that kept Doctor Who from dying.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean Doctor Who. I was a very sick child, and one of the things my parents, I don't know how my parents did this. My parents have no, they just. So God, all I can say is God just blessed them with the instincts to help a sick child. And they taught me little tricks to stay positive and to stay thinking about the good parts of life, not the bad parts of life. And I am not saying that you should not recognize when there's a problem, because that would be irrational and not healthy. If you were happy all the time, I would be concerned something was wrong with you. So I'm not saying that it's okay to feel sad. That's fine, but it's not okay to stay that way.
Mm-hmm.
You want to move. You express your frustration. Express that you don't like the way things are. That's perfectly normal. Now let's get back to living life.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they would teach me how to set myself little treats. Like, hey, today's a bad day, but just think on Saturday you could do X.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was 7 and it wasn't cool to know who Doctor Who was, I was a huge fan of all the old shows. And in fairness, the new shows are better. I can't say they're not. But anyway, that was my favorite show. And Doctor Who started in 1963 and ran until around 1990. I don't know, I think 2 or 3, and then it got canceled for a while. And then of course it came back around 2004, I think it was, and is still going strong. But in the meantime, while it was off the air, this radio company called Big Finish actually hired all the old stars from the show and did radio dramas, and it did a bunch of them, and just kept. I think that's what helped keep the interest in the program alive. They've now done the same thing with some other classic science fiction shows like Blake 7. the Tomorrow People, and Torchwood, stuff like that. So, I'm a huge modern radio show fan as well. But those classic shows were the real entree to me into a bigger world. And I do some sound design for TV and film. I have a website that's just a bunch of sound effects. And my poor sweet wife, she doesn't think it's crazy at all for me to stand in the middle of New York City with a microphone on a street corner, just catching like ambient traffic sounds. Thinks it's perfectly reasonable.
I think that's a great idea. Standing with the microphone all day, just catch ambient sounds. You never know what unique comes out of it. You can go not just New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami, Dallas.
Yeah. I don't do it as much as I used to, but I used to always have a stereo set of microphones and some kind of like portable recorder, either a mini disc or a DAT machine or something, or a hard drive recorder or whatever. And I always had it in my bag when we traveled. If I heard something interesting, I'd stop and grab it. I actually have a 60-minute ocean surf CD called Hawaiian Ocean Surf that's out. That's just me. Basically, when we were home, I was on tour in Hawaii for like 10 days. We were staying at the Ka'ala Mandarin, which is a really nice hotel. It has its own private beach and everything. So I got my drinks tray, set my gear up on top of that, walked out about knee-high into the ocean, and just let the surf sort of break around me. With this digital mic, and it's a really good recording. If you've got Amazon Unlimited Music, you can find it. Just say Joey Stuckey Hawaiian Ocean Surf, and it'll come up. Same thing, iTunes you can buy, or you can go to my website. There's a little website I have called 3daudioscapes.com where I just sort of stash stuff like that. And I may make $400 or $500 a year off it, but that's fine. I did it because I wanted to. But I do sound effects for theaters and local productions of plays, and I've done a few film and TV things, but it's funny that I never really I got into the business to do sound design. And it's funny that I really never have. That's always been a extremely narrow part of what I actually do, but I love doing it, and I love creating sound effects I'll never forget. I got hired to do some stuff for Dracula. And there was a local production of Dracula here in town, and so I created all the bat flapping wings and all these. It's just a lot of fun. And then there was a Titanic, which was a lot of fun. I had to figure out how do I create this sound of the boat breaking up and hitting the iceberg, and it was just a lot of fun. The money wasn't really great, but I did it because I didn't really care about that. I just wanted to do it.
And you're still saying up on top of the stern, "I'm the king of the world."
Absolutely. Honestly, the thing is, man, I really believe. I talk to my students now about. I've always been rather verbose, but I talk to my students now in even more simple, complex, simple ideas. And the idea that I really have been hammering the last couple of years is this idea of intention. And I really feel like if you have a center point that you start from, if you start from a point of intention, so if you say simple things like, music makes me happy. And then you say, okay, now, if music is what really makes me happy, how do I make that my life so that I am, for all intents and purposes, happy? And so once you've made that simple decision, you have that simple intention to make music your life. And it could be anything, doesn't be music. For me, that's what it is. Then everything that happens from that moment on becomes a lot easier. Because you're not just reacting to what life does to you, you are planning for what you want to do. You're going out and creating things. So if you're constantly reacting to life without that core of intention, you're going to make some poor decisions because you're always going to be under the gun. You're always going to be making decisions at the last minute. And sometimes you make bad decisions when you do stuff like that. But if you come from a core of intention, whatever it is, doesn't matter what it is, and you're honest with yourself about what it is that makes you happy, now you've got a powerful roadmap to start moving your life in that direction. And so then what happens is it's all about knowing what it is that makes you happy and being honest about it. And the fact is, other people don't have to understand or agree. They don't have to, it's about you. It's about what makes you happy. Sadly, a lot of people don't understand Why would you want to play music for a living? That's not a real job. Well, it is a real job, and you can make good money at it, but you have to do things the right way, and you have to be dedicated. Anything that you want in life, you have to dedicate yourself to. So, but I talk to my students about this idea of intention, and the thing is, I mean, for my students that I take under my wing that become interns and then even maybe later employees at the studio, basically we have a couple of mantras, and one of them is every day is a great day in the music business, even when it isn't.
That's a good one. I like that.
Well, it's because we're doing what we want to do, right? How many people get to honestly say that they spend their entire day doing what they want to do? Does that mean that everybody you're going to work with is nice? No. Does it mean that everybody you work with is going to be rational? No. Does that mean you're going to get paid what you deserve or get the accolades you deserve? Maybe not. But the fact is, you've made a decision about what it is you wanted, and you did that. And so to me, you just can't. Once you adopt that attitude, you just can't lose. Every day is a gift, and every day is a joy. And so, and I have a very simple litmus test about. I think, okay, something bad happened to me today. And I say, okay, well, this upsets me. But is it a brain tumor? No, it's not. Okay, we're good. Moving on.
I like that. I'm learning a lot from you, Joey. I'm learning a lot. I feel like we're in class right now. This is great.
Well, like I said, I'll talk your ear off, man. That's
that's a good thing too. And also, do you have a guitar ready to go?
I do. I always have a guitar ready.
Fantastic. Okay, I'll have you play a song or two in just a minute. First of all, you listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and Apple. Take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device and subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. We're here with singer-songwriter Joey Stuckey out of Macon, Georgia. He is the ambassador for Macon, Georgia, and also music columnist, sound engineer, and he's also a professor at Mercer University. He's got quite a number of songs out, and he's also got some albums. But first, he's got a guitar, and he's ready to go. And how would you like to play a little bit of Blind Man Driving?
Yeah, hey, no problem at all. I'm gonna set my phone down. We'll see how this works. I'll set my phone down, put it on speakerphone, and see if that will make it work for us better. So hang on, here we go.
Okay, great. Here we go. Blind Man Driving by Joey Stuckey on The Mike Wagner Show.
All right, here we go. So here's I'll give you the first. Every place I've gone, just bring me back to you. Yeah, every place I walk, I felt like such a fool. My horizon, I can just get out of touch. Oh, when I hold you in my arms, you can't get enough. Well, we run the sun, burning in the sky. No point in wondering, why. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm still gonna try. Loving you, I feel like a blind man driving. Like a blind man driving, baby. Yeah.
Ooh, man, that is amazing. And where can we find that on what album?
Well, that is off of Six String Soldier. And that record came out 2016. There's a bunch of pretty good tunes on that record. I've kind of gotten back since around 2016. I've kind of gotten back into doing EPs, and traditional EP is anywhere from 4 to 6 songs. So I usually do about 7-ish But I really enjoyed. 2016 was a really weird year. My sweet wife had to retire. She's a nurse midwife. She has an advanced practice nurse with a master's degree in nursing, and then also a midwife that she delivered babies, but she could deliver them at home, but she prefers to live in the hospital because you can still do all kind of natural birth methods at the hospital, water births and stuff like that, and still have the hospital there in case something goes wrong. And the fact is, her goal, she loves natural childbirth. She loves to do everything, the old-fashioned way as best she can, but she would rather be able to make sure there's a healthy baby, healthy mama, and have all the modern tools available to her as well. But she had to retire from that due to an autoimmune disease that sort of just snuck up on both of us, and just kind of, she didn't know she was sick, and all of a sudden one day she just couldn't walk for a while, and she's doing really great now. She travels with me when we're on tour, and we have a great time. But anyway, so 2016 was kind of a weird year. My wife, I said, and my dad had a heart attack, and so all these things. So I kind of slowed my schedule down a little bit, stayed a little closer to home to help out, any way that I could. But in the meantime, it gave me a little more time to write and a little more time to think about some stuff. And I was like, I've got all this tunes sitting around, and the market is back, as I said, for EPs and not full albums. And I thought, well, let's put this thing out. So that is the actual song "Blind Man Driving" was released March of 2015 as a single. And the music video was released for it as well during that time. And the reason for that was I was the keynote speaker at a conference at the University College in London in the UK about, blind musicians and their stories and the adaptive technology, which I'm sort of a specialist in. So I got a chance to sort of be the keynote speaker for that. And so we said, well, let's release the video. And the video, I kind of I've learned who I am. I'm at this point probably not going to change. So initially I had all these ideas about the sort of loose. It was supposed to be a comical piece, even though the song's not really funny, but the video was supposed to be funny. And the idea was I'm trying to get to a gig. Like my ride didn't show up, and I'm trying to get to a gig. And I was going to have me like driving a forklift and riding a horse and rowing a boat. And then I was like, oh, my God, we'll never get this done. This is too ambitious. So we cut it back. And so it's basically – it looks like – if you've ever seen the show Cops, basically looks like an episode of Cops. It's got a very gifted friend of mine shooting the video with one camera. But he literally is like hanging out of the back of a car with one of our actual, Macon, Georgia Police Department, Macon PD, actually chasing this car around town. They sent us a car and an officer, and we filmed it. And it was great. It's a lot of fun, and I encourage everybody to check out the video. Honestly, the thing I'm more proud about on that song, than the music, the thing that really excites me about that is the fact that there's a couple of scenes where I have to run down a street and some stuff like that. And I just knew I was going to bust my face. I just knew, I was like, oh, I'm going to fall. But I was like, that's okay. I mean, I'll just get up again and I'll just, but I didn't fall. I mean, it sounds simple, but for a blind guy, like running as fast as I'm able and opening a door and running through it all without stopping, was actually a big accomplishment for me. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's the cool part. Yeah, that's a good song, but the fun part is the fact that I'm running down the street and and it's a lot of fun. So, but anyway, that's a 6-string soldier record. And then I did 2017. I had a single come out. A dear friend of mine that I met when I was in the UK, who was in a band called the Popes, and that band had ties to a band called the Pogues, who had several hits back in the 80s, Dirty Old Town. And
I remember that. You're my London girl. That's one of my favorites, too. Yeah. You're my London girl. Yes.
Yeah. So these guys, the Popes were a split-off group from the Pogues. And there was also another guy in there that had played with the band Modern English, played drums with the band Modern English. That's on Melt With You. Mm-hmm. Their biggest hit. So anyway, he came out to one of my shows. He was a friend of mine, and who said, "You got to go see my friend. He's going to be playing in the UK." And he walked up to, his name was Charlie Hoskins. And he walked up to me and said, "Hey, man, my name is Charlie Hoskins, and my superpower is I can sing like a girl." And so we were instantly friends, of course. And so the other thing about 2016 was Charlie and I got a chance to sit down, and we've been wanting to write some music together because we just became instant friends. And so we've been wanting to write some songs. And so it's 2016, we got to write some songs together. And then in 2017, Charlie went in thinking he had a hernia, and turned out he had cancer. And so he passed away in 2017. And I'm so grateful I got to know him, for the year and a half or so, or 2 years that I did. And we wrote a whole record together, and I haven't put it out yet because I haven't quite figured out how to do it and how I want to get it out there. But then first part of this year, 2019, we released an album called In the Shadow of the Sun, and that record was recorded in about 3 hours at Sun Studio, the famous Memphis, Tennessee studio where Elvis and Roy Orbison, Johnny Cash did a lot of their recordings. And so we did the basic tracks there just for fun, really. And then because my trio was on tour, we had a day off. I said, I don't believe in days off. Let's go do something. And so and then we got it home. I said, yeah, this is pretty good. And so I finished it up at my studio and I brought in a buddy of mine, Al Ches, who is a horn player, trumpet player with Tower Power. And he's an incredible trumpet player. Also played with the Late Show band for David Letterman for like 17 years.
Wow.
And he was. If you ever listen to the old Late Show episodes, you may notice like there's always this one super high trumpet that gets the last note almost every time when they come back from break. That's Al.
Wow, that is something. Kind of reminds me of the Doc Severinsen in a way too, just hitting the high notes and everything else. Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, those guys were some of the best players. And so I met Al. It was weird. I met Al in early 2018 when I was in New York at the Grammys, and we just became friends. And I somehow, before we left, I'd conned him into playing on my record. And so and then I've got like one of the songs you mentioned that you liked earlier today, "Troubles Come in Threes." That's got legendary keyboard player Randall Bramlett on the B3 organ. Now Randall has written several songs that have been recorded by Bonnie Raitt. But he's also played in super groups like Traffic, and he's played with Steve Winwood. So he's been part of Greg Allman and Friends. So he's also was in a band called Sea Level that was pretty big in our area. I don't know how big they were outside of the South, but anyway. But yeah, so Randall's on this record, and it's just a really special record. So we did a full record. We've been touring behind that record since March of this year.
Wow. Okay.
And then, oddly, my agent called me back around the end of July and said, "Hey, do you have any Christmas music?" I was like, "Well, no." So I was like, "Well, I've got a couple opportunities for some people need some Christmas music for some film and TV placement." And I said, "Well, I can get you something. I have a studio that I can." So I got no problem there. And so I actually put out a little Christmas EP. It's 6 tunes. I wrote one of them. One of them I wrote, which is original, called "Santa That Plays Guitar," and the rest are interpretations of classics like "Let It Snow" and "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas" and "Jingle Bells." But it's a really fun funk blues, interpretation of these classic Christmas carols. So that was released. Because I have a weird sense of humor, I released it on Halloween.
Not surprising. And in fact, I've heard of people that record Christmas music around the 4th of July. How do you like that?
Oh, well, listen, it's crazy. I mean, it's the Christmas gets earlier and earlier every year, and especially with all the retail outlets. You have Black Friday, but now you have like pre-Black Friday sales and all this stuff. But yeah, we're just now sort of starting to promote that record, and I have to say, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I like it. I like the record. Or I wouldn't have released it, but it's amazing to me how many people really love this album.
Really?
And what's so fascinating about Christmas music? It only has a 6-week life every year, but every year it comes back, and every radio station, wants Christmas music, and every retail outlet wants Christmas music, and every commercial, Zales and different commercials, they all have holiday music needs for their commercials, and so it's always a good moneymaker once you get established with your tracks. I mean, it's always a good little source of revenue. So I've been wanting to do a Christmas album forever, but just never had the right. I just never had the right impetus to do it. And then my agent's like, "Hey, well, you can do this." And I was like, "Yeah, I can do it." So I got her the first 3 songs done in like 2 days.
Wow.
Including I work pretty fast. So I included the song that I wrote. And then people loved all that stuff. Originally, I was just going to do it for film and TV placement. And then all these music supervisors like, "This guy should do a Christmas album because I want more of these songs." I was like, "Okay, I'm if that's what the universe says they want, that's what I'll provide." So so I went ahead and did like 3 more songs and knocked that out in a couple more days, and it's just been a lot of fun. The name of the album, if you want to check it out, is called A Santa That Plays Guitar.
A Santa That Plays Guitar. And you know what, too? If it's okay, we can go ahead and play right now on the Mike Wagner Show. Santa That Plays Guitar. Looking forward to it. Here we go.
I can't drive a brand new car. No white Christmas with all that snow. I want a Santa that plays guitar. I don't need no diamond rings, pretty lights that shine bright from afar. You can keep your evergreen. Just give me a Santa that plays guitar. I'm happy just the way things are. All I need is my 6-string and a Santa that plays guitar. I don't need no afterglow from drinking your Christmas wine. All I need is a melody to move my soul, and Santa keep it perfect time. Loves a Christmas tune, don't matter who you are. Cool cats all dream of swinging along with a Santa that plays guitar. A Santa Claus that plays guitar. A Santa, I'm talking about the man in the red suit that plays guitar.
Joey Stuckey. Oh, my favorite. Santa that plays guitar. Wow. Oh, my goodness. Oh, have some eggnog and dance with the reindeer, and don't forget Mrs. Claus.
That's right. And listen, what happens during Christmas stays during Christmas. So if you get out there and cut the rug and act a fool, it's okay. It's Christmas time.
Oh, yeah. We'll definitely get that on for you as well, too. We'll talk about your master classes, and if we have time, maybe a tune or two. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention The Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. Check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and Apple. Also coming on Stitcher as well, too, Podcast Addict, and more. Also take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device and subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. We're here with singer-songwriter Joey Stuckey out of Macon, Georgia, just having a fantastic time with this legend, and he is so popular. He's been named the music ambassador for Macon, Georgia, his beautiful hometown. He's also a teacher at Professor Mercer University and also a sound engineer. And let's get to your master classes and something you've taken pride in. You talked about how you first got started recording and everything else. And tell everybody about your master classes, what they're about, and how can they enroll?
Well, so basically, when I was in my early 20s, people started asking me to teach, and I wouldn't. And the reason that I wouldn't was because I as much as I joke and goof around and I have have a lot of fun, I do kind of take education seriously. And what I didn't want to do was I did not want to get out there and not really seriously have something to say. And everybody and their mama can have their own YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. And there's nothing wrong with it. That's totally fine. But I can't tell you how many students come to me and say, "Oh, I learned a new guitar chord over the weekend. I look, I know how to play F." And I was like, "Well, that's actually a D." It's like, so I feel like one should be careful about where they get their information. And then again, that's not to say the internet's bad. I don't think it is. But I do think you should be, especially if it's something that's going to be a career path for you. College is not for everybody, and that's okay. But you need to make sure that you are taking in information that's going to really put you on the right path. So I eventually did start teaching and stuff like that, and because I felt like I had something to say and I had a certain skill set, I was an advanced enough musician that I really had something to impart. So a couple of things that I talk about in my classes, and it depends on what they're by and large musically based, but I'm really into body mechanics, and I'm really into playing in ways that are good on your body, that put less wear and tear on your body, and I have to be real conscious of that myself because of the health challenges I have. For example, some of the great guitar players in the classical world, for example, Andres Segovia. One of the greatest guitar players in the world, and Charlie Parker on saxophone from the jazz world. Apocryphally, we have heard over the years that these greats would practice, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. That is just not healthy. It just isn't. I mean, if I did that, I'd just have carpal tunnel.
Ooh, yeah.
So I mean. So I really believe in a different approach. I believe in very short, focused practice periods with specific goals that are very concentrated. And I believe in doing those 5-minute practice periods, 3 or 4 times a day. And what happens when you do that is you build up your muscle memory. So you're actually getting a better workout for your brain and your body if you practice, 30 to 45 minutes a day, but you do it practice 5 minutes, put the guitar down for a couple hours, pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down. That actually is better for you long term. So we talk about things like that, vocal health, some things like that. Then there are the actual like music business aspects that we talk about, how to have a career, how to market yourself, how to have a business plan, how to incorporate so your assets are protected, all these different things that you really have to do if you want to be serious about being in the music business or any business. And then some of the master classes move off into more esoteric places like how do you find your voice as an artist, how do you come up with your unique sound, things like that. And then there's also I teach a lot of improvisation classes, like how do you become an improvisational player. That happens to be a real strength for me, because what I'm lacking in eyesight, I make up for in mental acuity. So, I have a very good brain. I have a good memory. I was a kid that everybody hated because I made all A's and never really studied that hard. But I mean, the reason for that was that I remembered what the professor said or the teacher said, and I understood it. And that was that. So that was, it didn't require, I've got friends of mine that are all A students too, but some of them had to spend, every day studying like 10 hours a day. I just never had to do that. So for me as a blind person, at some point you have to come up with a sort of like, effort versus rewards, table, and you have to decide, okay, well, I can do X, Y, Z, but if I do that, what is that really costing me? So in my case, for example, while I was trained as a classical guitar player, I have turned my powers towards evil, and now I play rock and jazz and all that kind of stuff. And I can still play classical, but the thing is, for me to, if I was to get a gig playing classical guitar with an orchestra, I'd probably make $500 for that, for the show and the rehearsal the night before. But before I did that show, because I can't sight read the music, I'd have to memorize the music. So I'd probably have a good 20 hours worth of rehearsal that I'd have to put in to then take the other rehearsal plus the concert. There's another good 10 hours. So 30 hours worth of work for $500. It's just not a good return on my investment. Mm-hmm. So what works better for me, I mean, I can do it, but it's just not worth the effort. So what's better for me as a blind person is to play music like blues or jazz, where improvisation is a highly prized skill and part of the experience. And because I have a creative mind, and that means I don't have to read the page. Mm-hmm. So I can be spontaneous, which is one of my strengths, and also it takes like basically no effort for me to do that at all. So that's the kind of things that we talk about in these master classes, is finding out, be you. The thing is, I love Kelly Clarkson, but we've already got one. We don't need another one. Right. I love Eric Clapton, but we've got one. We don't need another one. Come be you, and figure out who that is, and figure out what works for you. And you may or may not sell out 80,000 seat arenas, but you can have a career that's worthwhile. Mm-hmm. And so those are the kind of things I talk about in the master classes. Then the other thing that I talk about, I do some marketing stuff, because I have what I call, there's 4 pillars in my mind to marketing. And in this internet age, there's a lot of ways you can leverage what we call direct-to-fan marketing to really understand what your fans want. Traditional thought was, okay, I've spent 5 years and I've got 10,000 fans, and I've got a new album now. Okay, all my 10,000 fans have just bought this record. So now what I've got to do is go out and get 10,000 more fans so I can sell those 10,000 fans my record. Mm-hmm. But that's not really how it works anymore. What's actually better, and it's a little counterintuitive, but it's actually better to go back to that first 10,000 fans again and say, okay, guys, you bought my current record. What do you want next? What is it you want from me? You're a fan of my art. How would you like to consume that art? So it's actually easier to go back and get more money from the people that are your fans, because growing your fan base is very hard and very expensive. Now, that's not to say that you don't have to grow your fan base as well. You do, because otherwise you'll stagnate, and you have to keep breaking into new markets and playing places you haven't played, and all these kind of things to make new fans. But for example, if I was to discover, there's demographics, right, which say age, sex, income, geographic location, but then we have things called psychographics, which are where else do my fans intersect with my brand. So if we find out, for example, that my brand, most of my fans are, I'm a coffee drinker. I have to have I usually just drink 1 cup of coffee a day, but I have to have my first cup of coffee in the morning. And I'm a coffee drinker. I love coffee. So if we find out that most of my fans are also coffee drinkers, then we can say to them, hey guys, would you like a new song, for me to record a new song and release that? Or would you rather have a coffee mug with some of my lyrics on it?
Interesting.
Right? So you can literally ask your fans what they want. And if you ask them what they want and they tell you and you make that, then you're probably going to have a pretty good return on your money. Right now, the way we're doing things, I play shows, we never sell less than $200 worth of merch at a show. Never. And I'm talking venues that hold maybe sometimes 40 people. I'll still sell at least $200 worth of merch every time, and it's because we've picked products that are universally appealing, and I've also worked hard to make them affordable. Like one of the things I did, because I didn't want to spend a lot of money on T-shirts. T-shirts are one of the best things you can possibly make for merch. But and I don't know if you've heard of the company called Merchly. They're part of Disc Makers, and they just featured me on their blog, actually talking about merch. But the traditional wisdom, again, in the 90s when I was really getting started, was you take the album cover, slap it on a T-shirt, and there you go. But the problem with that is that, one, sometimes album covers are great album covers, but don't make good T-shirts. Two, if you do a full-color T-shirt that has 7 or 8 different colors in it, it gets really expensive, and you can't really make a profit. So if you're spending $25 to make the shirt, you're not, and you're not, Paul McCartney or somebody, you're not going to get, an independent artist is not going to get $50, $60 for a T-shirt. Mm-hmm. So I'd have to sell them at cost. So I wasn't really making anything. So, so I said, well, we need T-shirts, but I don't want to spend that kind of money. I need to come up with a way to have a solid color shirt. Doesn't matter. It can be black or red or yellow or whatever, but to be able to have a one color print on the shirt so that it keeps the cost down. Well, but I don't want to just put my name on it. That's boring. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's who wants to just wear? I mean, So I thought about it, and I finally said, okay, I know what I want. I know what to do. So I came up with an avatar, and his name is Blink. He is a real person, so treat him with respect. So Blink is a stick figure with a blind man's cane and sunglasses and a giant anime guitar that he's hauling around. And he's just hilarious. And so I wanted people to go, what the hell is that on your T-shirt? I wanted to go, why is there a blind stick figure on your T-shirt?
Blink.
And so, and so people, I mean, seriously, people like do double takes. Like, whoa, what is that? And and then of course it has my name on the bottom, but people adore this shirt, and and because it's it's a black shirt with a white stick figure, or if we do red shirts or yellow shirts, it's black ink. But regardless, I mean, that keeps the cost way down, which means I can afford to sell those things. And the thing is, it's better for me to have people wearing my shirt. And also, so I'll do a deal like a bundles. I'll be like, hey, I'll sell you one T-shirt for $10 or two for $15. And people just you can't pass it up. And I'm still breaking even on my cost. Plus, I'm making some money. Plus, there are people now walking around with my shirt on it and basically promoting me for free.
Mm-hmm. So good advertising, yes.
It's just a win-win situation. But what's changed, Mike, and this is what people need to understand, and it's weird. You have to invest a lot of time understanding what's happening in your career and your market. You have to spend a lot of time reading and listening to articles and stuff like that, and going to conferences and stuff, so you can figure out what's going on. But what's really happened is the music has almost become secondary. What's happening is that when people buy a T-shirt or a CD or some kind of merch like that, they're actually what they're really buying from you is a memento of the time you spent together. So you have to, these bands that aren't doing well with merch, there are 3 reasons why they're not doing well with merch. 1, they haven't made merch that's compelling. 2, they don't have someone managing the merch booth during the whole time they're playing. You cannot just walk to your merch booth over there during your breaks. You cannot do that. You've got to have someone there the whole time, because you've got to be able to take advantage of the impulse buy. When you play a song and people are like, oh my God, that song's amazing, and then they want to go buy something, but there's nobody there, and then they may leave. And so you got, and then 3, you got to put on a great show. because if you're putting on a great show and you've given someone a really memorable evening, then they want to take home some kind of souvenir. And the reason that I say that the CDs and the T-shirts, and we have a few other little things too, like buttons and stuff like that, but the reason they want to take that stuff home is what they tend to think is, oh, I can buy their album on my phone anytime I want to. So they don't feel compelled to do that right then. But if you don't leave them with an impression, and they don't take home a little piece of a souvenir of their time with you, they may forget. They may buy Jack White's new record instead of mine, right? So I mean, you really got to strike while the iron's hot. So anyway, but those are the kind of things the master classes talk about is those kind of things. And then finally, I do have a master class. I guess you'd call it inspirational talk, and it's living a successful life of intention as a brain tumor survivor. And I have sort of 4 pillars. And this is appropriate for high schools, civic groups, churches, whatever. And it just talks about my journey and some of the interesting things that's happened and the ways I've kind of learned how to deal with things not being perfect and still be happy and successful. And what to each person, success will mean something different. To me, success is getting a chance to chat with people like yourself, meeting new and interesting people, becoming friends, visiting, sharing my story, hearing your story. That's what makes me happy. So obviously I got to make a living too, but those are the kind of things that we do with the master classes. So a lot of them are for civic groups or high schools. A lot of them are more college-based. And, of course, I do private lessons, and we're getting ready to break new ground I've got a new studio complex that I'm bringing online probably midsummer of 2020. And once that happens, we'll be starting to hold actual conferences and master classes at that studio as well. I did a few in my studio now, but this studio is 9,000 square feet, the new one, 9,000 square feet. On one floor, and there are 3 floors of equal size, so it's a huge space. So it should be pretty exciting.
It is exciting. And where can they find more information about master classes?
Well, the best way to find it, pardon me, you can do one of 2 things. Probably the best way is to go to joeystuckey.com, JoeyStuckey.com, and there's actually a tab. If there's a little drop-down menu and it says master classes and it says booking, so you can look at that there. There's also the fan zone, which we've worked really hard on to make pretty exciting, and the fan zone will allow you to order CDs. We got vinyl, T-shirts, all that kind of good stuff, and there's a lot of free music for you too. So one of the things that I believe in from a marketing standpoint is let people that don't know who you are take your music for a test drive. So we've got several ways for you to get free music. And listen to it and see if it's something that you enjoy. The other thing is artists have to understand that much as we would love for everyone to think that we're geniuses, sometimes our music's just not right for a certain. I mean, I think Garth Brooks is amazingly talented. I don't actually want to really hear him play though. I just, it just doesn't flip my switch, man. What I'm saying? I think he's great. I respect him highly. But I just don't want to listen to it. It's just, it doesn't make me excited. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that's just not what turns me on. So that you have to understand that your music may not be for everybody, and that's perfectly okay. Nothing wrong with that at all. But that's why we give people a way to sort of get a couple free songs, and then if they like it, they can come back for some more. But if you check out the fan zone on joeystuckey.com, that's another really great way to engage with us. And, of course, we're on all the social media channels. I'm trying to stay young and hip. We're on Twitter. We're on Spotify. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. I really don't understand Snapchat. Interestingly, it really appears to be something that even the really young kids are doing. And of course now there's TikTok, and I haven't really gotten into that yet. But drop by our social media. And the best thing is, man, come out to a show, because we come early, we stay late, we shake hands and kiss babies, and we really and truly, whether it's just me and the guitar and my lovely wife selling the merch and collecting the money to pay the rent, or whether it's me and the band, we really do take a great joy in meeting everybody and visiting with everybody. And and just connecting as human beings. That's what I mean. I think our technology today is really wonderful. And as a blind person, but some of the technology we have available on the iPhone, it has really helped me out in so many ways. Being able to send text messages, and my phone talks to me and reads back text messages and reads back emails. But we also have found a real disconnect. The technology that's supposed to bring us closer has actually done the opposite. Mm-hmm. So we do take some joy. Well, again, I love the technology, and I'm not blaming it. I'm not a Luddite. But I do think that it's really important for human beings to connect with each other on a human one-to-one or just a human level, because that is really, I think, fuel for the soul and fuel for the mind, and that's just really important. So that's another way. Come out, meet us, say hello. We'll sit down and chat with you, and as long as we can until our roadbaiter says get on the bus and get back to work.
and of course, speaking of going on tour, what are your upcoming plans for 2020 when it comes to tour?
Well, so since March, man, we've been New York, we've been New Jersey, L.A., Detroit, Chicago, North and South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee. Pardon me if I'm forgetting. I'm sure I'm forgetting some places because I've slept since then. But we're starting to wind down right now. We've got a gig coming up in South Carolina. I've got a gig coming up in North Atlanta. That will be probably, and then I've got another gig here in Macon. Those will be our last 3 shows of the year, and those take place on like the 30th of November, I think the 12th of December, and the 21st of December. But then, so we're gonna have a couple weeks off. And then I will be in L.A. On January 3rd to play the famous Whiskey A Go-Go on the Sunset Strip.
Nice.
So we're very excited about that, and so that's pretty exciting. And then come the end of January, I'll be back in L.A. for Grammy Week and performing, doing some stuff there. There's a party there every year that's pretty massive called the Soiree. And we'll be performing there this year as well. So those are the 2 big things starting for next year. And we'll be the first part of the year, the first 3 months of the year will mostly be me doing solo stuff, because of we're all the guys in the band we all teach, and so but during the summer of 2020 we'll be on the road quite a bit, and we're looking forward to. We're booking festivals and a bunch of stuff like that. And then again, as I said earlier, I'm also, the other project I have is I teach for 2 different universities here in town, but I also am putting this new studio online. So as that comes online, that will require some time too. But we'll be out playing a lot. We can't, we don't tour 365 days of the year, but at the same time, we don't like to not be active. And I've got several universities that want me to come up and spend some time with them, doing some master classes and stuff. One's in Connecticut, one's in Iowa, during spring, sort of Marchish. So we'll be around. We'll be with, and the joeystuckey.com website is an awesome way to sort of, find out what's going on. We usually get new gigs up on there within 24 hours of them being booked and confirmed, and we also have a little bands in town tracker you can click on and subscribe to that helps if we're coming to your area.
That is fantastic, and of course just a few minutes here as well too, and maybe you can play another song for us as well too. What's considered most defining moment?
Wow. Well, my most defining moment. A latent issue from the brain tumor was that I ended up losing a hip. I have a metal hip on my right side, and I was misdiagnosed for about a year. They thought I had bursitis, and then one day I just couldn't walk anymore, and I spent about 8 months in a wheelchair. And all my dates are blind dates, okay, haha. But this particular date was a real blind date. A friend of mine set me up on a date, and I'd never done that before. And I was like, man, I'm blind, I'm in a wheelchair, and I'm a musician. 3 strikes and you're out. This is never going to work. And I was like, I don't. Is it really the right time to go meet somebody new when I'm not at my best? And then the other part of my nature said, what's the worst that can happen? And so I ended up going on the date, and that was my sweet wife, Jennifer.
Wow.
And we, like I said, we've been married 16 years now. We actually got to celebrate our anniversary while we were on tour in New York.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, thanks, man. It was awesome. We had such a good time. We always do. We have a good time wherever we go. But that moment, I really was one of the lowest moments I'd had, physically, and I was real concerned about, being accepted and thinking, well, God, this guy's got so many problems. Or is this somebody I want to be with, and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, I met her in July 17th, and by October 10th, I had proposed. And she accepted, and then by June 21st of the next year, we'd gotten married. And I also met her when I was directing. I'd been hired to direct a musical at one of the colleges here, and I was directing the Rocky Horror Show.
Wow, and, I love that.
So, me too. So our early courtship was her taking me to play practice and wheeling me in doing the wheelchair, and sitting there watching me to practice this musical. And so, it just that moment of, as long as I keep my faith in the ability for the human spirit, it's faith in me, yes, but it's faith in mankind, really. Mm-hmm. It is faith that mankind is so resilient, and we can really do anything that we set our mind to. I mean, there are tragedies, of course. There are sad things. There are things that make you mad. But overall, the overarching story, that's not the story. And you look at it, I say, I ask my students every semester when I start teaching class. First thing I asked was, okay, how many Star Wars fans we got in class? And I was like, hey, those of you that are not Star Wars fans, you're dead to me. Get out. But I think, and I admit that it's cheesy, but I believe it's true as well. There's a wonderful line in The Empire Strikes Back when Yoda's talking to Luke, and the line is, "Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter," and that really is something that I felt like came home to me during that time. I was in my late 20s. It's like 28 years old. And it just helped me realize, the body that I have here does not work as well as I would like, but it is not me. It is a part of me, yes, but it's not the whole story. The spirit that informs this body is much more important. And so that to me was just a real defining moment to realize that I'd always wanted to be married. I always wanted to find a best friend to share my life with. I wanted to do music full time, and I was able to do all those things despite all the things life was throwing at me to try and stop me. Not be able to walk for a while, all these different things. And last year at the Grammys when I was in New York, my right shoulder started hurting. Ooh. And I thought, I just picked up my guitar weird, or picked up a bag weird, or something like that. And so come to find out, I had to have a complete shoulder replacement. Oh, wow. So about 2 weeks ago, I had my 1 year shoulder replacement visit. So it's been like a year since I had my shoulder replacement. And that was not as much fun as I'd hoped, I gotta admit. It was pretty rough. And for six to 8 weeks I couldn't move my right arm at all. And then there were some other things that happened during that time that was just the hospital not doing the job they should have done. Making things really hard on me. And then there were moments I thought, my God, am I actually gonna live through this? But my arm, my doctor was like so impressed. I went to see him, like I said, 2 weeks ago, and I said, look, I'm not gonna have parity with this right arm. I want to parity, for those who aren't thinking about medical terms, basically just meaning, will my right arm be able to do all the things my left arm can do? Will my surgical arm be able to do all the things my non-surgical arm will do? And they're like, well, probably not. I was like, well, that's not acceptable. So I'm gonna say that I'm gonna get parity. Mm-hmm. So I got there. I was like, hey doc, check it out. I got parity. And he was like, oh my God, I can't believe you could do that. And so he was just so psyched and excited. So the point is, I think about these things. The brain tumor I had, it's not totally uncommon to lose one joint, but it's really uncommon to have issues from that make you lose more than one joint. But I like to call a 1%er. So if it's going to happen, it's going to happen to me. But I just that's what I want people to think about. Like it's not being inspirational is not to say that life isn't sometimes hard, not to say that life's not even unfair sometimes. To acknowledge those things are important, because if you don't acknowledge the pain, you don't acknowledge the things that frustrate you, then you can't live an honest and healthy life. But you also have to move past that point and realize that when you reach deep down and you find that core of strength that can help you catapult yourself across or through or under the trouble that you're being assailed with, you do have it within you to be successful and to defeat anything that's trying to knock you off course. Now, you may have to do things a little differently. You may have to approach something in a different way than somebody else has to approach it, but that is okay. And I think the glory of being alive is the diversity of man and how incredible it is. It's like, there's 15 different ways to do the same thing. And, it's amazing how people find so many ways to overcome obstacles. So it's look, say to yourself, okay, boy, not being able to see sometimes a real pain in the butt. That's perfectly reasonable. What's not reasonable goes, I can't see, therefore I'm angry at the world and I'm going to have a miserable life. That's not reasonable, right? So they're pretty easy contrasts to spot. But anyway, yes. I mean, that was the moment for me that because I honestly, as much as I hate that hip surgery and that whole experience was really hard, I wouldn't trade it, because it's when I met my wife, so we're all good, man. As far as I'm concerned, that's a fair trade.
That sounds like it. That is fantastic. And who do you consider biggest influence in a career?
Well, I mean, so many people. I've been so blessed to meet some of my heroes. I've had a chance to work with Alan Parsons, who's a dear friend. I've just recently met another one of my heroes, Ron St. Germain, who's become a dear friend. And just so many wonderful, talented people that I've been surrounded by. But I mean, gosh, I'm reading audiobooks. Is what I read mostly. I can read Braille, but I'm not super good at it. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is it just wasn't something that was available to me as a kid. And so I didn't learn it, early on. But I mean, like, man, Billy Idol's incredible. I'm reading his book right now, which is called Dancing with Myself. It's really a good read.
Ooh, nice.
And if you can get the audiobook, he actually reads it.
He does. Wow, with a Rebel Yell, I bet.
Oh my God, dude, Rebel Yell, man, it's so good. I mean, it's just so interesting to hear him read it. So it's really crazy. So, I mean, I love Billy Idol. I'm a huge fan of like Crowded House and Neil Finn. I'm Paul McCartney. I mean, somebody asked me that. I said, well, if you're forcing me to pick just one influence, which is unfair, but if you're forcing me to pick just one, I have to say it has to be the Beatles. I mean, I don't know anyone in music cannot have the Beatles at least somewhere in their DNA. Mm-hmm. They were just so revolutionary. Of course, I mean, the Who, the Kinks, Hendrix. Of course, I mean, Hendrix, for a rock guitar player, a blues guitar player, you got to love. I mean, Hendrix is Van Halen, John Petrucci. But I mean, it's so hard because there's so much good stuff out there. But it's so hard to pick, just one. But man, but I mean, I draw a little bit from everybody. I mean, and I love it. But again, I mean, it's cliche, but you have, like I said, for blues and stuff like that. I mean, you'd have to have Eric Clapton in there. You'd have to have Hendrix in there because music is a language. And they created a real distinct vocabulary, and so you can't really play rock or blues without learning their vocabulary first. Once you have that down, then you can start contributing your own vocabulary. But you have to learn the language from the masters first. So, and the same thing with jazz. I mean, you can't. There's just no way you can not be influenced by Miles Davis or Train or Sonny Rollins or some of those guys. Oscar Peterson, one of my favorites. Dave Brubeck. So I mean, those guys are just so critical to that genre that you've got to dig them. You've got to dig them some. You've got to have them in your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So I love. Mike, it would horrify you to see my room. It is stacked floor to ceilings with albums and books and just. You wouldn't believe the catalog of music. I'm a Georgia boy, so I gotta love REM.
Yes.
So I've actually recorded with Mike Mills a couple times, who's the bass player from that band. Just so many wonderful groups and just there's so much incredible music out there. I'm always excited to find out, new stuff. There's, the 90s had a lot of, Nirvana, I have to say that from a sonic perspective, Nirvana's Nevermind album was a really pivotal record for me. Butch Vig, of course, the producer for that record, which I had the honor to meet a couple of years ago. It's just really it's just really an incredible. It's just really incredible how many amazing albums there are out there. But if you're a drummer, you got to love Nirvana's albums because the drum sounds of that. Dave Grohl is pretty much the John Bonham of our generation. So,
I could see that, or Keith Moon or Chester Thompson from Genesis and all that. Oh my gosh.
Well, and Phil Collins. Phil Collins is so amazing. It's so many things.
He's so generational talent. Is like throwing an instrument. He'll require an octopus to do that, like octopus arms. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. Oh, and of course Neil Peart from Rush.
Definitely. Yes. Oh my gosh. Wow.
I'm frustrated. I'm a guitar. I play drums at a low side of adequate level. But guitar, bass, and vocals are my three big ones. And I play keyboard at a low side of adequate level. But I was a frustrated drummer in college. I minored in percussion because I was like, well, I already play guitar and I'm kind of set there, so I'm getting paid to play guitar, so we're going to leave that alone. But I took percussion in college, and it was a lot of fun. But man, the stuff those guys do, and people like Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater, and there's so many. It's just of course, and we recently we just lost one of the greats, Ginger Baker.
Oh yes, he was the one that took art drumming to a whole new level. Oh my goodness, yes, incredible. Wow.
Not a man that you'd want to make unhappy. Though apparently he punched you for not too much. but no, he really his drumming was just really incredible to me. And I those records are just the Cream records. There's only 4 of them, I think, but they're really just, those are albums that if you don't have them, they need to be in every music fan's collection.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course I go to the early 90s. It was really formative for me musically. So I was listening to things like Robin Hitchcock and the Smiths and the Lemonheads and bands like Dada and all these wonderful, Dylan Fence and all these great. These great sort of Matthew Sweets, one of my favorites. There's so many amazing people. Amy Mann's one. I'm a huge Amy Mann fan. So I just think that there's so much incredible music out there, but there's room for more. So
and don't forget the Smashing Pumpkins out of Chicago, where I grew up. Smashing Pumpkins, yes.
And that's interesting you mentioned them because I actually have a sort of a weird tie to them. So they recorded, I know their first 2 albums they recorded in Georgia.
Wow.
At a studio called Cyclops. And that was the Gish record and the Siamese Dream record. And a buddy of mine who actually played on my first album, his name is David Ragsdale. He was he was not the original member, but he was a touring member with the band Kansas on electric violin. And all the strings you hear on the Smashing Pumpkins records, that's David Ragsdale.
Really? Amazing. And
so
that's one of my favorites, too, is strings. That's amazing.
Yeah, so on that song Disarm, and what else? Tonight.
Tonight is one of my favorites, yes.
Yeah, so that's David playing strings on that. And if you go to my very first album, which is called Take a Walk in the Shadows, There's a song on there called Hate You. It's a very cheerful song. And he's playing electric violin on that. And then I've got another song called Mr. Destruction on that record where he's playing violin. And then on that same record, there's a song called My Sociology, which is where he's playing violin. So I grabbed him and we became friends because he's a Georgia boy. He's from I think Columbus, Georgia. So yeah, David, we've kind of lost touch over the years, but that's kind of my weird tie to the Smashing Pumpkins.
That is something too, and of course, the best advice you can give to anybody at this point.
I mean, it's basically twofold. Know what you want and be willing to do what it takes to get there. And the second thing is understand that nothing's for free, and you have to work hard to do it. So my request for people is basically this. It's like, okay, if you want to be in the music business, that's fine. You may have to keep your day job for a little while. That's okay. What you need to do is come up with a 3-month, a 6-month, and a 12-month business plan. You need to come up with a steady amount of money that you can spend on your career. It doesn't matter if it's $50 a month, whatever it is. And you need to come up with a steady amount of time that you're going to spend in your career. That time can be calling local restaurants to book a gig. That time can be practicing your instrument. That time can be rehearsing. That time can be recording. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. But you allocate those things and you stick to it no matter what happens. And if you say, well, gosh, I've got 50 months I can spend, $50 I can spend this month, but I really need to spend $150 to buy a cheap digital recorder so that I can start recording my band practices. Okay, well, save up for 3 months and then buy that. But just find what is within your means to do, and just stay with it. And what you'll find is that slowly you'll be able to start transitioning more and more of your time into what it is you want to do. So right now, if you're working at a gas station, or you're working as a server at a restaurant, or you're washing cars, that's great, man. Make the money, keep food on the table, take care of yourself, take care of your family. But over time, if you really want to be in the music business full time, or whatever it is, I mean, if you want to be, I don't know, if you want to be a trapeze artist, doesn't matter to me, whatever makes you happy. But just know that if you come up with a plan and you stick to it, you'll eventually be able to put more and more resources behind what it is you really want to do. And within 3 to 5 years, you'll be able to transfer over full time to what your passion is. And that's really going to make you happier, and it's going to help you to inspire people around you to be happy. So that's my thought. I mean, and the other thing is, the reason I say it's important to write this stuff down, some of this stuff seems real obvious. Like, Joey, I don't need to write that down. That's stupid. I know that. But it really helps you to be able to look back at where you have come from and go, gosh, man, when I started 6 months ago, I never thought I'd be able to accomplish X. And here I am, 6 months down the road, I've done that. And I just can't believe I was able to do that. So it will give you a track record of your successes. It will give you a track record of your failures. Now, the failures are not things to be afraid of. It just simply is, okay, I tried X, Y, Z, and that didn't work very well, so I won't do that again. I will try something else. I will try ABC this time instead. And you go, oh, that worked great. I will do that again. So you just, that's the way to do it. And I just think that, anything that you want is within your reach if you really want to dedicate yourself to it.
Mm-hmm. That is fantastic advice. And Joey, just want to say a big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Definitely have you got in 2020. Sir. And by the way, would you like to play quickly just one more quick song before we go, like Trouble Comes in Threes or whatever you'd like to play?
Yeah, so are you saying, like, are you going to play the album track?
Let's see. We can probably do that. Let me take a look here. And, of course, as we mentioned, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. And Trouble Comes in Threes. And here we go. We'll go ahead and play the track. Trouble Comes in Threes on The Mike Wagner Show to wrap it up with Joey Stuckey.
Thanks, guys.
fantastic. Joey Stuckey, Toro comes in threes on the Mike Wagner Show. Joey, a big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Definitely have you again in 2020. And whoops, no encore yet. We'll save it for next time. Again, tell us about upcoming projects, website, how do people contact you, where to purchase and listen to your music.
Absolutely. Best place to go is joeystuckey.com, and or hit us up on social media. It's just at jstuckeymusic on Twitter and Instagram. And then, of course, facebook.com/Joey Stuckey, and again, joeystuckey.com. It has been a true privilege and pleasure, my friend. Thank you, sir.
And thank you, Joey, as well, too. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Definitely have you on for 2020 and keep us up to date. I'd love to have you back on again. And
all you got to do is say the word.
Sounds good. And with the kazoos this time.
I'll shoot me your address, and I will mail you the official Joey Stuckey kazoo.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.